riddle me this. When is it a bad time to talk about Kill la Kill?
Gee, I wonder.
Never! That's when! It's time for Riley's favorite anime this go-around. Now I've known since the last episode we did on it exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Didn't we already go over this before?
Shut it! So, if we're talking magical girls, then we gotta talk about dark magical girls. And no, I don't mean magical girl series that are morbid as all hell.
Though there are definitely plenty of those to choose from. Even Kiryuin counts, kinda.
Not the point. Nah, I'm talking about magical girls that are the dark reflections of the main character. And in Kill la Kill, there's only one character that fits that description. Ask not the sparrow how the eagle soars. It's all about Kiryuin Satsuki, the dark magical queen.
Well there, girl. That's a pretty bold claim, you know.
See, here's the thing. It's not. Satsuki fits the entire thematic purpose of the typical dark magical girl, but with a huge twist.
Yeah, you mentioned it last time. It's all about authority with her, right?
Pretty much. It's pretty obvious what magical girls are. The classic magical girl, like we've mentioned before, is generally all about the transition of girls into young women. It's about growing up.
But action magical girls are usually aimed at boys. Or, at least, boys are actually factored into the audience. So that theme is less of a thing. That's why a lot of them tend to dip into the typical shonen themes.
Exactly. Stuff like friendship and camaraderie being the big ones. Not like that stuff ain't there in more traditional magical girl shows like Sailor Moon, but it's treated differently. Action magical girls tend to revolve around relationships and cooperation with equals.
So it makes sense that the dark magical girls tend to uphold the power of the individual.
They're typically solitary figures. They do everything on their own, or they do their best to downplay or ignore the companionship of others around them.
A really good example of that is Fate from Magical Girl Lyrical Nanoha. It was painful watching how much Elf cared about her and went out of her way to protect her and make her happy.
Only for Fate to keep rejecting her concerns and soldiering on through her pain alone. Yeah, it was rough. Fate was desperate, no doubt about that. Hell, that case was probably one of the most extreme ones, too. Her mom literally created her for the one thing, so her insistence on her ability to do things herself was wound up with this sense of purpose. Her mom constantly building her up as the only one who could do it didn't help.
It went further than even that. She basically manipulated Fate the entire time, feeding her lies about how she was the only one Fate could trust or rely on.
It built up this whole fiction about Fate and her mother being alone in the world, which made Fate isolate herself, even from what was standing right in front of her from the beginning.
I guess Alf being a dog person is appropriate, right? That was some serious loyalty.
It was especially tragic when you think about it, because they expressly point out that Alf is basically a part of Fate. Fate has to use her own emotions and powers to make a familiar, so Fate was literally denying herself every time she tried to stuff her own feelings.
Yeah, I remember crying my eyes out with her whenever Fate got hurt. Poor thing.
Another pretty great example in the same vein was Chris, over in Symphogear. I might not have liked Season 1 all that much, but Chris was definitely one of the highlights, and she was also a character who really fit the dark magical girl vibe.
That's right. She lost everything and wound up serving Fine because of it. Fine gave her a sense of purpose and the illusion of strength, but she also abused Chris and manipulated her pain. She established the relationship pretty immediately. She was in charge. She was the authority and the only one who gave Chris's life value and meaning.
It even came back to haunt the girls in Season 2 and Season 3. Maria and Carol both filled the dark magical girl angle in one respect or another. Sure, Maria had her allies and the like, but she was definitely built up to be the key to their success, and she took that to heart.
Carol was more of an anti-magical girl than a dark one, but the theme still kind of worked out the same way. She was obsessed with her own omnicidal ambition and didn't really regard any of her creations as companions, or even equals, despite all of them caring about her.
In the end, that refusal to accept others turned tragic. She lost herself in her isolation. But Symphogear is all about communication, so that tracks with the theme of the show overall. Let's just cut to the chase and talk about the woman of the hour.
Oh yeah, we were here to talk about Kill la Kill, weren't we? Whoops!
So check it. Satsuki is all of that, but better.
That's bold.
It's like we said, the dark magical girl is all about authority and the power of the individual. Satsuki is the picture of those ideals. She's the autocratic president of the Honnoji Academy Student Council for one. It doesn't get more authoritarian than dictator.
True, she pretty much ran the school with an iron fist. It was a fascist regime with her at the top. But it was weird. Everyone seemed to love her.
Well, the freethinkers didn't, which was the point. But I'll get back to them. You're right, though. Satsuki was popular, and she did have the Elite Four at her back as loyal, die-hard supporters. But that came down to the overwhelming force of her sheer personality. They didn't just like her, they respected her. They were beholden to her. The power of her sheer charisma was that absurd. And that gets back around to the power of the individual.
Oh, you're right. Heck, she was able to stand up to Ryuko even without a Goku uniform. And when she finally got her own, she was able to force it to behave through nothing but pure force of will.
Now you get what I mean, right? Satsuki is the picture of the dark magical girl, but turned on its head. She was the authority figure in this case. Her power was self-assured. In fact, you could see it as sort of a deconstruction.
Right. With Fate and Chris, their mother figures just abused them the entire time and manipulated them. Satsuki's mom did that too.
Hell, Dagyo's abuse of Satsuki went way further. It wasn't just emotional or psychological. It was more than just violent. Dagyo sexually abused Satsuki too, to get across this idea that Satsuki was her property, that Satsuki had no control.
So it made all the sense in the world that Satsuki lashed out. Everything she did was out of hatred towards her mother. But, in the ultimate ironic twist, it made her more like her mother than anything. A tyrant.
It was an error she eventually realized and corrected. In the end, she started to realize that her strength might have been her own, but she wasn't an island. Before Ryuko, strength was everything. That's where the Elite Four came in. She saw their potential and brought it out of them. She was cordial with them, but she didn't really rely on them. In a way, she regarded them as extensions of her own strength, like pawns in her master strategy. At least, that's how she convinced herself she had to treat them, believing that anything less would have been a show of weakness.
It wasn't until she'd clashed a few times with Ryuko and finally went to war with their mom that her tune changed. That's when she started to respect the Elite Four and all the other students as people, and realizing that relying on others was a type of strength on its own.
Hell, Satsuki realizing this is what caused Ryuko to snap out of it when she started to fall down that same path, of feeling like she could only rely on herself. It was a genius way of using one character's arc to bring a little closure to another's.
Wow, when you brought this up before, I honestly didn't expect there to actually be this much to it.
Never doubt my love of Kill la Kill, Rila. Never.
You're more far gone than I realized. Converting you is going to be harder than I thought.
See? So what do you say? You ready to come over here and join the club?
Not a chance. Nice try, though. I respect that. I guess my darling little sis is just a little too trigger happy for me to save. Eh?
Oh, I swear to God we're not related. We can't be.
Love you too.
Whatever. That was the video on Kiryuin Satsuki, the dark magical queen. It didn't mean for it to also turn into a video on Nanoha and Symphogear, but hey, they're fun shows, so no complaints here. What about you guys? Who's your favorite dark magical girl? Drop a comment below and let us know.
We'll be wrapping up the summer of magic next time, so you'll definitely want to subscribe if you haven't already.
In the meantime, though, you know how it goes.
I'm Rila, signing off.
I'm Riley, bowing out.
Thanks for watching.
Keep up the awesome and
Stay tuned!